Hey there, welcome back to my channel. It's the time of year where potatoes are really cheap, you know, around St. Patrick's. There you usually get the cabbage and the potatoes, of course. So I figured we'll do another potato dish. The last one was a potato salad. So today I'm going to show you what you can do when you come home, you need a quick dinner, you know, you don't want to be standing in the kitchen for an hour. This is a very easy and very basic potato soup. What I like about potato soup, aside from it being tasty, is you can use the old potatoes that gotta go, you know, before they go bad. They're not really that nice anymore, so you can't really make fries out of them. All these, you know, that have the little eyes growing out and all that stuff. So you can use those potatoes up, and that's usually what I do when I have a leftover from a 10-pound bag. All right, first things first, you need to peel those potatoes. I'm just gonna peel all these potatoes and I'll see you in a minute. I've prepared all the potatoes, so I just peeled them and gave them a quick rinse to get rid of any sand or dust or whatever I might still be on there. And then we're gonna use the second ingredient, and that's a plain onion. So this is a yellow onion. Use any onion you want. Red ones will discolor things, but other than that, you know, just use a red one too. I'm just gonna cut this one up relatively fine, but don't go overboard with it. We're gonna mash the whole thing later anyways. So there we go. The other thing we need to do is cut those potatoes, and the smaller you cut them, the quicker the thing cooks. If you come home, you know, and you really want to take that shower and you cut this up in 1/2-inch cubes, you have about 15 minutes from putting it on the stove to get your shower, you know, and then you can have dinner. I'm getting kind of hungry. I've been filming episodes for a while. So I'm gonna cut this into not even 1/2-inch cubes, which should have me munching on a nice soup in about no time. Total prep time for this is, I don't know, 5 minutes. If you're a little bit slower with a knife, then maybe it's 8 minutes. But it's definitely a quick and very healthy dinner option. And I'm gonna throw in a couple of wiener sausages because I have them sitting around. And that's always good if you want a little bit something meaty in that soup. It will do just fine without. You could use some bacon in it as well, which reminds me, I do have a couple rashers of bacon still sitting in my fridge. Maybe I should chop those up real quick. That's a good idea. See, those guys gotta go anyways. People say everything's better with bacon. I don't necessarily concur with that assessment, because there's dishes where bacon works and then there's dishes where it doesn't. I think that's about enough. But this will gonna be very tasty in that soup. See, I'm just quickly cutting this into small pieces. All right, so much for that. This is all the prep work. I've got my onions, I've got my potatoes, I found some bacon, which is good. And I'll see you over there on the stove. Okay, we're here over at the stove, and I'm just gonna start by preheating my little pot here. And since we found that bacon, I'm gonna go render that bacon first, and actually I'm gonna put it in while the pot is still cold. That should allow the fat to render out a little bit while it heats up. Starting the bacon cold is always a good idea when you want to render out the fat. I'll be adding a little bit of fat to this because I don't think the bacon will be enough. All right, this is getting nice and toasty. I'm going down with the heat a little. And I'm gonna add the onions. Now, when you're using bacon, be careful with salt because bacon is salty. So I'm just gonna add a pinch. We are about 10 minutes in since we started this endeavor. And I'm thinking I'm just gonna add the potatoes at this point. If you want to, you can go overboard. You know, you could add a parsnip, you could add a carrot, you could add some pumpkin if you have that sitting around in fall. So the other two ingredients that are now coming, it's broth. I'm just using the better than bouillon stuff. See, we're getting a little bit of color there on the bottom. And at this point, all we do is add water until about there. So you want the potatoes covered, but not too much. If you have like a 1/4 inch of water sitting on top of the potatoes, that's about the right amount. You can always add more water. And of course, I'm gonna add a spoonful. That's probably a teaspoonful of the better than bouillon. You can use a cube, you can use the pulverized stuff, makes no difference. Bring this to a boil, then get the temperature down so that it's at a simmer, and let this simmer for about 15 minutes. At this point, you can go take your shower or pour yourself a drink or whatever it was you wanted to do before you sit down for dinner. So while all this is happening behind me, I'm gonna add some beef franks that I found in my fridge. They're gonna expire in a few days, so I figured let's use them. All I'm gonna do is chop a couple of those into slices and add that at the very end. Since they're already cooked, all you really need to do is heat them up. Of course, you do not have to use bacon, you do not have to use sausage. This is just because I have it sitting around and it makes the soup better, in my opinion. If you're vegetarian or vegan, just make the soup as it is, because all you really need is 2 ingredients. That's onions and potatoes, preferably starchy potatoes. And then you need a little marjoram and a little salt and some kind of broth. So can be a vegetable broth, can be a beef broth, doesn't make much of a difference. You just let that simmer for 15 minutes. Take your potato masher and mash it down a little, and you've got a nice dinner. If I would eat this vegetarian, I would probably have a slice of bread with it, you know, make it more filling, but it's just fine on its own. See, now this is all really mushy, which is good. It evaporated a little bit too much water for my liking, so I add a little more water. And now, this is marjoram. I have that in my backyard, so I just got a couple twigs here. I'm just gonna let the marjoram wilt here a little. Of course, it's okay to use dried marjoram, no problem whatsoever. And then, since the potatoes are already really soft, I'm just gonna use my good old trusty potato masher and just run that through. At this point I'm gonna go down with the heat a little, otherwise this starts splattering. Okay, my wife would like this consistency. For me, this is not a soup, so I'm gonna add another pinch of water. At this point, I'm gonna add all the sausages in there. You don't do that before you're mashing, because you don't really want to mash the sausages if you're using sausages. I'm just gonna fish out the marjoram. Okay, and this is the soup. Quick, easy, inexpensive. I'm gonna put this into a bowl, and if you want to pimp this up a little, add a little dash of balsamic vinegar. That's really good. Or you could add a spoonful of sour cream. That's really good too. And this is it. A quick low budget dinner. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you liked this episode, please subscribe, like, and click that notification bell so you don't miss another episode. Thanks for watching.